The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between star systems, a monument to peace that had endured for 3,000 cycles. Jiggy stood at the observation deck, her violet eyes reflecting the distant nebulae as she watched the last human transport vessel disappear into the darkness. The vessel's engines left no trail, no signature, just silence where once there had been vibrant communication. "They're really gone," she whispered to herself, her slender fingers pressed against the transparent aluminum barrier. Ambassador Jiggy of the Velcron Empire had spent 2 decades working alongside humans. She had learned their languages, studied their peculiar customs, and even developed what her people called inappropriate attachments to their strange, short-lived species. But nothing had prepared her for this moment, the moment when humanity simply packed up and left the galactic community without explanation. Behind her, the Council's emergency session was descending into chaos. "Good riddance to the warmongers," bellowed Chancellor Threx, his 3 mouths frothing with indignation. "Let them skulk back to their isolated corner of the galaxy." Jiggy turned sharply. They weren't warmongers, they were defenders. There's a difference. Defenders, the Chancellor's eye stalks swiveled toward her. They obliterated the Kresh Armada, 30,000 ships reduced to atomic particles. The Kresh were slave traders, Jiggy reminded him coldly. They had abducted over 2 million sentient beings. The humans asked this council for permission to intervene. 3 times. You denied them each time, citing cultural relativism. "The law is the law," interjected Magistrate Quellen, her crystalline form chiming with each word. "Humanity was bound by the Treaty of Andromeda, just as we all are." Jiggy's laugh was bitter. "The Treaty of Andromeda. Yes, let's discuss that. Article 7. No member species shall engage in military action without unanimous council approval. Tell me, Magistrate, how many millions must suffer while we debate and deliberate? How many children must die in slave pens while we respect cultural boundaries?" The chamber fell silent, uncomfortable silence. It was then that Alex's recorded message began to play across every council screen simultaneously. Jiggy's heart clenched as his familiar face appeared, that peculiar human face with its emotional expressiveness that her people found so disconcerting. Alex Chen, humanity's last ambassador to the Galactic Council, looked tired. His dark eyes held a sadness that Jiggy had never seen in them before, not even during the Kresh debates. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Alex began, his voice steady despite the weight of what he was about to say. "By the time you receive this message, all human vessels, stations, and personnel will have departed Council space. This is not a declaration of war. This is not a threat. This is simply a goodbye." Jiggy watched as several council members shifted uncomfortably. "For 247 years, humanity has been a member of this council. We came to you with hope, with dreams of cooperation and mutual growth. We believed in the promise of galactic civilization, that together we could build something greater than any single species could achieve alone." Alex paused, and Jiggy could see him struggling with emotion. "We were wrong, not about the potential, but about the reality. This council doesn't seek to build, it seeks to maintain. It doesn't pursue justice, it pursues stability, and we've come to understand that there is a difference." "Arrogant primitives," someone shouted from the back of the chamber. Alex continued as if he could hear them. "We don't blame you. Your species have existed for millions of years. You found equilibrium, a balance that works for you. You've learned that action causes chaos and chaos causes suffering, so inaction becomes wisdom. We understand this logic, we simply cannot live by it." The image shifted, showing footage that made several council members gasp. It was the Kresh slave markets, children in cages, beings tortured for entertainment, families torn apart and sold to the highest bidder. "We asked you to help us stop this," Alex said quietly. "You told us it wasn't our place to interfere. We asked you to intervene in the Dramath genocide. You formed a committee to study the issue. By the time your report was filed, 4 billion Dramath were dead. We asked you to address the Zellian hive mind's expansion into non-consenting species. You said it was a complex cultural matter." Jiggy felt tears forming in her eyes, a trait she'd picked up from spending too much time with humans, her superiors had said. Tears were inefficient, they claimed, but standing here now, she understood their purpose. "So we acted," Alex continued. "We saved who we could, we fought when we had to, and each time you sanctioned us, you fined us, you restricted our territory, you told us we were dangerous, unstable, too aggressive for civilized society." The image changed again, this time showing human rescue ships pulling survivors from burning stations, human doctors treating refugees from a dozen species, human engineers rebuilding worlds that others had abandoned. We're leaving because we finally understand what you've been trying to tell us all along. We don't belong here. Our values are incompatible with this council's priorities. You choose order over justice, stability over action, process over results. We choose differently. Chancellor Threx rose to his feet. Turn this off, this is propaganda. But the message continued, and no one could locate the override. We're not your enemies, Alex said, and now Jiggy could see the tears on his face too. We're just different. You've evolved beyond the need for urgency. You measure time in epochs, not lifetimes. You can afford to wait, to deliberate, to let events unfold naturally. We can't. We're too young, too impulsive, too burdened by empathy for those who suffer while committees meet. He straightened, and Jiggy saw the resolve in his posture. So we're going home, back to our little corner of the galaxy. We'll defend our space, we'll help those who ask for it, and we'll build the civilization we wish existed. We won't expand into your territories. We won't seek revenge for the sanctions or the humiliations. We'll simply be, over there, doing things our way. The image shifted one final time, showing Earth from orbit, that beautiful blue and green marble that Jiggy had visited once, years ago. But know this, Alex said, his voice dropping to something cold and hard. We're leaving you with a choice, not today, not tomorrow, but someday, because the universe doesn't stop moving just because you've stopped acting. The Devourer swarms are migrating from the galactic core. We've seen the readings. You've seen them too, though your committees haven't finished analyzing them yet. The swarms consumed 3 galaxies before ours. They'll be here in approximately 2,000 of your cycles. Several council members began accessing their data feeds, suddenly frantic. When they arrive, Alex continued, you'll have another choice to make. You can deliberate about cultural sensitivity while they consume your worlds. You can form study committees while your people die. You can maintain your perfect neutrality while everything you've built for millions of years turns to ash. He leaned forward, and his next words were barely above a whisper. Or you can call us, we'll answer, because that's what humans do. We answer calls for help, even from those who rejected us, even from those who called us warmongers and primitives, even from those who valued their procedures more than our friendship. The screen went dark. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some called it a threat, others called it blackmail, a few called it prophecy. Jiggy walked away from the chaos, back to the observation deck. She pulled out her personal communicator, a device Alex had given her years ago, just in case, he'd said. She activated it and spoke softly. Alex, can you hear me? There was a pause, then his voice came through, live this time, not recorded. Jiggy, I hoped you'd call. Was it true about the swarms? Every word. Our deep space monitors detected them 18 months ago. We presented the data to the council. They're still in committee. Jiggy closed her eyes. What will you do now? Build, prepare. We've got 2,000 cycles, give or take. We'll use them well. We'll create weapons, ships, defenses. We'll be ready. For what? To save people who cast you out. Alex's laugh was sad. Jiggy, we didn't leave because we stopped caring. We left because we cared too much, and it was destroying us to watch and do nothing. But when the time comes, when the swarms arrive and the council finally realizes that pretty words don't stop existential threats, we'll be there. Why? The question burst from her. Why would you help them after everything? Because someone has to, Alex said simply. Because we're human, and apparently that means we can't turn away from suffering, even when it would be smarter to do so, even when those suffering wouldn't do the same for us. Jiggy felt the tears flowing freely now. I wish things had been different. Me too, but they weren't, so we deal with what is, not what we wish. Take care of yourself, Jiggy, and when the time comes, when your council finally admits that their way isn't working, you know how to reach us. The connection ended. Jiggy stood alone at the observation deck, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, humanity was building its own path, preparing for a threat that most of the galaxy refused to acknowledge. And somewhere deep inside, she knew that Alex was right. The council would call eventually. They would have no choice. And humanity, despite everything, would answer. Because that's what they did. Behind her, the debate raged on. Committees were being formed to study humanity's departure, subcommittees to analyze the swarm data, working groups to determine appropriate responses. The galaxy continued its slow, deliberate dance of bureaucracy and protocol. And in the silence of space, humanity prepared for war. Not against the council. For the council. Whether the council wanted them to or not. And the